Now that we understand what endpoint devices are, let's zoom in on the devices people use the most every day: computers, laptops, and mobile devices. These are some of the most familiar things on any network. They are the devices people use to browse websites, send email, join video calls, open apps, stream content, upload files, and communicate with other people and services. So, in this lesson, we're going to look at how these common user devices connect to the network, how they communicate, and why they matter so much in modern networking. The easiest way to think about these devices is this: they are everyday endpoint devices. That means they are not mainly there to move traffic for others like a switch or router would. Instead, they are the devices using the network. A desktop computer uses the network. A laptop uses the network. A smartphone uses the network. A tablet uses the network. These devices are where users actually interact with the network. That is why they matter so much. Let's start with computers. A computer is one of the most common network endpoints because it can run applications, send data, receive data, and interact directly with users. Standard computers are considered hosts, and common host types are desktop computers, laptops, and servers. Desktop computers often connect through wired interfaces, while laptops can connect through either wired or wireless connections. From a networking point of view, a computer is often where a person creates or consumes information. You might open a browser, log into a website, send an email, download a file, join a video meeting, connect to cloud services. So computers are not just on the network, they're actively using it. Desktop computers are usually the easiest to picture in a business or home office. A desktop computer often stays in one place. It may connect through a wired Ethernet connection, though it can also use Wi Fi in some cases. Because it stays put, a desktop computer is often thought of as a stable network endpoint. It may connect to a local printer, a file server, the internet, cloud apps, a company email system, a video conferencing platform. So even though it may look like just a computer on the desk, it is really one of the main places where network communication becomes useful. Now let's talk about laptops. Laptops do many of the same things as desktops do, but they add something important: mobility. Laptops and two-in-one computers are designed to be carried from one location to another, and they can connect through either wired or wireless interfaces, although they are most likely to be used wirelessly. That means a laptop may be used at home, at work, in a classroom, in a hotel, at a coffee shop, or anywhere Wi Fi is available. A laptop might use Ethernet one day and Wi Fi the next. So when we talk about laptops on a network, we're often talking about a device that can move between different networks while still doing the same core jobs: sending data, receiving data, and running applications. Now let's move to mobile devices. Mobile devices are small, handheld, battery powered devices used for general communication and lightweight applications. Mobile devices now create and consume a large portion of network traffic. This category includes things like smartphones, tablets, similar handheld devices. These devices are smaller than desktops and laptops, but from a network point of view, they are still endpoints. They run apps, they send requests, they receive responses, they connect to services, they generate network traffic. So whether someone checks email on the desktop or on a phone, both devices are still using the network as endpoints. One of the most important differences between mobile devices and many traditional computers is how they connect. Mobile devices are rarely connected through a wired interface. Instead, they usually connect by Wi Fi, cellular, or sometimes both. That is a big deal in networking. A desktop might commonly sit on one local network, but a phone may move between home Wi Fi, office Wi Fi, public Wi Fi, and a cellular provider's network. That means mobile devices are often changing the network they're using even while the person using them feels like they are doing the same task. To the user, it just feels like my phone is online. But underneath that, the connection method may be changing. A lot of common user devices connect through Wi Fi. That includes laptops, phones, tablets, and sometimes desktop systems too. Connecting a mobile device to Wi Fi is very similar to connecting a Windows or Mac OS device. You select the Wi Fi network, enter the correct password, and connect. So, at a beginner level, here is the big picture. To join a Wi Fi network, the device simply needs the correct SSID, which is the wireless network name, the correct password, and the correct security settings. Once connected, that device can communicate with local resources and internet resources, just like other network endpoints. Now, let's simplify the difference between these common user devices. A desktop is often more likely to use a wired connection. A laptop may use wired or wireless. A mobile device usually uses wireless. So the main difference is often not whether the device is an endpoint. They all are. The difference is more about how they connect, how often they move, and what kind of interface they usually rely on. That makes desktops, laptops, and mobile devices a great example of how endpoint devices can do similar jobs while connecting in different ways. So, how do these devices actually communicate on the network? At a beginner level, it works like this: the device connects to a network, gets network settings, and then sends and receives data to reach other devices or services. For example, a laptop may send a request to a website, a phone may connect to an email server, a tablet may stream video from an online service, a desktop may access a shared file or print to a network printer. Even though the apps are different, the basic pattern is the same. The device connects, communicates, and exchanges data. That is what makes these devices network endpoints. One of the most important beginner lessons here is this: these devices may look different, but their network role is often very similar. A desktop may sit in one place, a laptop may move around, a phone may fit in your pocket, but all three can use applications, access the internet, talk to servers, send requests, receive responses, and generate traffic on the network. So when you see these devices in a network, do not get stuck thinking only about their shape or size. Think about their role. They are all common user endpoints. These devices also use different operating systems. A desktop or laptop might use Windows, Mac OS, Linux. A mobile device might use Android, Apple iOS. Apple iOS and Android dominate the mobile device market, and Android is based on a standard Linux kernel. Why does this matter? Because even though the devices may look different on the outside, the operating system helps control how the device connects, how apps use the network, how settings are managed, and how the user interacts with network connections. So, operating systems are part of the networking story too. Let's make this practical. Imagine someone starts the day at home on a laptop connected to a Wi Fi. They check email, join a video call, upload a file to cloud storage. Later, they leave the house and continue working from their phone. Now, that phone may switch from home Wi Fi to cellular. At the office, they may sit down at a desktop computer connected through Ethernet. What changed? The device changed. The connection method may have changed. The network may have changed. But the basic idea stayed the same. Each of those devices is a user endpoint, connecting and communicating across a network. This matters for your CCST studies because the blueprint specifically includes computers and mobile devices as endpoint device categories under Objective 3.3. So this lesson is not just about naming devices. It is about understanding what these devices are, how they connect, how they communicate, and how common user devices fit into the bigger networking picture. That understanding becomes really important later when you study connectivity, wireless access, services, and troubleshooting. So let's wrap this up. Computers, laptops, and mobile devices are some of the most common endpoint devices on a network. They connect in different ways. Desktops are often wired. Laptops may be wired or wireless. Mobile devices usually use Wi Fi, cellular, or both. But even with those differences, they all have something important in common. They use the network to communicate. They run applications. They send and receive data. They access services. They help people get work done. So, the easiest way to remember this lesson is different device, same basic idea. Common user endpoints using the network to communicate.